The rumours have circulated for some time about Arsenal's expansion of the Emirates Stadium. And it does sound like for the last couple of days, rumours have now turned to forward thinking in relation to this, not move, but expansion, I suppose. I think we will see a lot of talk on this. The Cronkies have been quite clear in what they want at Arsenal Football Club, and that is to expand capacity. There's no kind of secret that Arsenal have a waiting list, which is around about 20 or 30,000 still. Now, the Emirates is a capacity of just over 60,000, as we know. Even if we were to take that to 80 or 90,000, there still wouldn't be able to get everybody on that waiting list a season ticket. So actually, this does have to happen. And I think it needed to happen for a long time. Now, when we moved from Highbury to Ashburton Grove and created the Emirates Stadium, the council at the time and a lot of the transport and public were talking about then not being able to go ahead with anything more than 60,000 capacity. And that was because the transport and commuting just wouldn't be possible. Now, Arsenal are quite lucky. They've got quite a lot of tube stations around there. If you look at Arsenal, you look at Holloway Road, you look at Finsbury Park, there is quite a lot of stations that you can get to. You can go over Grand Wise to Highbury and Islington and get towards Stratford and towards Essex out that way, or you can go the other way and further. But what I will say is, I don't think that is massively the issue. That was 20 years ago now when they started to plan that. In fact, it was over 20 years ago. It was around about 2002 when they started to talk about a stadium move from Highbury to what is now the Emirates Stadium. And I think since then, a lot has changed. And I hope that if there was a potential for us to expand or want to expand the stadium, that wouldn't be a stumbling block anymore. But I could be wrong. I'm not involved in the authorities of that field. I don't know or understand the ins and outs of what can and can't be possible around that area of London. But what I will say is that the undergrounds are there. There is ways and means of getting people to and from places in London, of all very, very busy area, but a compact area. So I don't think that would be as bad as what perhaps it could have been 20 years ago. Maybe things have changed. Maybe it's a lot more efficient with travel now. Maybe things have changed in that respect. But Arsenal want this. The Cronkies want this. Fans, I think probably majority of them want this. There are some fans that say, I don't want to move. I don't want to expand. I'm happy how it is. How much can we expand by? And my first thoughts is, yeah, good question. How do we? I don't think the Emirates roof comes off, but if it does, that's an option. You take the Emirates roof off and you expand it towards 80,000 or 90,000, whatever you want it to be. That's one way you can do it. The other thing that has been discussed or rumored is that you can actually start to dig and bury down into being more of a gradient of the pitch. So therefore you dig downwards and put more seats at the front and then the pitch comes a little bit smaller. That's been another suggestion. And also there's room, if you've been to the Emirates, in between the TVs that are diagonal, you've got that kind of looped, what do I call it? Above the last top of the seats, you've got that loop where there's a lot of space there between the roof and the last seat. And it kind of goes down like this in not a zigzag, but like a kind of wave, if you get me. You probably wouldn't get many seats in there, if I'm honest with you. You'd probably get a few thousand, but I wouldn't have thought you'd be able to get more than 5,000 to 8,000 if you're really pushing it. So that would only take it to a capacity of just below 70, which I think they'd be happy to do. But I think the rumor is and the suggestions are that we're looking to go towards 80 or 90,000 from what we're reading today. But let's look at what we do know. We know the Emirates needs tidying up. We know the Emirates is nearly 20 years old and it does 100% need looking after. It needs a little bit of liquor paint. The seats are faded. The numbers, no one knows what seat number you're at. It's all faded. Some of the tiles, the metal plates, the plaques have all either broken or busted or just look really tired and old. If you look out and around the grounds, it probably could do with a lick of paint and a little bit of refurbishment. I love the history and I don't think they should change that. But certainly when you look at screens and upgrades there, I think that could be better. I think there's rumors that there's a lot of more interactive stuff that they might be looking at for younger fans and some of the fans that want to look at and understand some of the history. I think all of that's great. I think they should absolutely include that. They definitely need to look at how we get people in, turnstiles quicker. We definitely need to look at how we get people served quicker. How do you get more beer tents and more food tents and more those kind of refreshments out and about in half time? People want to go and get a beer, but they also want to get to a stage where they can actually watch the game. Now, anyone who's been to the Emirates knows that if you want to go and get a beer at halftime, you are going to have to leave on 40 minutes. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get served, drink your pint, and get back to your seats without missing the game. So you're basically having to miss either the start of the second half or the end of the first half if you do want to go and get a drink at halftime. That I think needs to be much, much better. Most of the people want to go and get a beer at halftime. Some people want to go and eat, that's fine. But there needs to be a way that you go and get only beer that is being served quickly. And they've tried that on certain kiosks where this is a beer only section. It still doesn't work. They've tried with beer tents as well as kiosks. It still hasn't worked. So I think that needs to be looked at. But in terms of the refurbishment and the capacity expansion, I think it's something they're really serious about. And I think the Cronkies are going to be looking at that and saying, how do we get around some of the um, legalities, some of the protocols in relation to that kind of question mark of, are the council authorities going to have a problem with this if we do expand? Because it means more people. And it's already difficult to get on the tubes as it is, right? I'm never in a rush because of what I do. Whenever I leave the stadium, I'm normally doing an interview or filming. So therefore, I'm not in a rush to get home. So when I leave, it's when it's all died down. I'm not standing in a queue by Tesco's at Highbury, isn't it? And I'm not being forced to go round the long way in milli steps to get into the Arsenal station. For me, it doesn't bother me, but for some it will, and it will become frustrating, which is why you have to leave 5 minutes. If you've got work the next day, you miss the last 5 minutes of the Champions League match. It's very, very similar to when you go and get your beer. So I think that needs to be changed. I think we need to look at that, but how? I'm not so sure. Then I look at what this means for Arsenal. We've got two options. If we are going to expand, the two options are as follows. We move stadiums to Wembley, which is what Spurs did, or we take a stand at a time to upgrade. And that will frustrate fans because that will mean it will be harder for people to get tickets for this season or the next couple of seasons. And it will probably take a best part of 18 months, I imagine. So it'll probably be a season and more that we miss at that ground at the Emirates, be it, or if we're at Wembley for that long, or we'll have to. I don't know how they're going to do it. They just, people will miss out on going to games for that period of time. So I don't think that's the option. I think a stadium move would have to be the option. And Wembley is rumoured to be the scenario. Now, obviously, Tottenham have done that. Arsenal played at Wembley before years and years ago, and we didn't have a good time there. However, when we have played there in the FA Cup, it's been fantastic for Arsenal as a stadium. So I wouldn't be against that. It gives everybody the opportunity to get their seat and continue to play and watch their football match. But I don't know that it is a given. So let's look at what we do know, and let's look at the rumours of today. It's come out and it's been quite clear that Arsenal are planning a major expansion or major kind of plans to look at, of course, expanding the Emirates. Now, look, we're in a position where we're quite lucky. We've already got a very good stadium, but this is what we do know. Arsenal are planning a major expansion of the Emirates Stadium that could see them forced to move their home matches temporarily to Wembley Stadium. Detailed work's gone into a potential overhaul that would increase their 60,700 capacity to beyond 70,000. Now, that for me means that with just under 10,000, we might be able to keep things as they are and try and fill in the gaps of the Emirates Stadium to get it up to another 10,000. That's what it sounds like. However, if they want to go bigger than that and they want to get closer to 80 or 90, which is the size of an Old Trafford or a Wembley or something like that, I think they would have to be moving to Wembley. And that's something that some fans just don't want. So that's that. Then we, of course, go to more news about what it might look like if that was to happen. And of course, we're in a scenario of being realistic, I suppose, is what we're looking at now. So that's where we're at. So once they have expanded, as we see, oh, that's the wrong one. Let me share the right one. It will be a number of options, okay? A number of options. And this here says that it is understood that Arsenal have options to change the gradient of the stands in the Emirates Stadium. So that's definitely an option, as I've said to you. There's a number of options they can do to try and expand it. And this is one. It can also adapt the seating plan to fit in more fans, but the outer bowl would remain similar in appearance as the majority of developments being assessed would come inside the ground. So there's a number of things they can do. As I've mentioned, they can try and take the roof off and make it big. They can look to fill in gaps, or they can change gradients, or they can go bury down in front of. It sounds like they're looking now at what is the best option and the easiest and simplest option. And there's a few, I've got to be honest, there's a few. So this is obviously one of them. Now, I'm a big fan of this rumor. I think it needs to happen. I think fans want it to happen, if I'm honest. And there's going to be some that are like, leave it alone. I'm sure there's going to be some that are like, I'm happy where it is. And I think the reason is they don't want change. They don't want the hassle of potentially having to move, to get to Wembley every, for some is difficult in comparison to the Emirates, depending on where you're traveling from. But I think this would be a good move if it meant that we would actually have more fans able to get to games in the long run. And that's what I like about it. Then you can look at where they might have got some of these ideas from, and it's actually the Bernabeu and Real Madrid that they're looking at. Apparently, there's been a study that's got into Real Madrid's stadium, the Bernabeu, and as we know, as we played there last season, it's a magnificent stadium. And Arsenal officials have studied the expansion of Real Madrid's now 83,000 capacity Bernabeu stadium at a cost of more than 1 billion. That included a retractable roof and a 360-degree LED scoreboard. This was as well as a multi-function subterranean pitch storage. The aim at Arsenal would be to also produce a multifunctional and digital-first stadium. It was noticeable that Arsenal passed up the chance to host matches at Euro 28 during the summer when, subject to planning permissions and finances, changes could conceivably be underway. So this is about the next couple of years for Arsenal. This is about the future. This is about building on what it is. Now, I think they're realistic about that. And I like the way that they're looking at other stadiums, for examples. I think the Bernabeu is a great start. I think when you look at what Tottenham Hotspur have done, although we're huge rivals with them, their stadium is magnificent. I think we need to look at how we get modern, how we look to be ahead of the times. And I think they're looking to do that when they say they want to produce a multifunctional digital-first stadium. I think there's a lot of talk about it being more interactive for fans. There's also a lot of talk here suggesting that we have said no, we don't want to be hosting matches at Euro 2028 because we believe our plans will be underway by then. So this is something that I think will potentially be happening now. There's a lot of rumors and suggestions that, it might not be the case, or that there might not be, there's all just rumors. It's not going to move forward. But let me know your thoughts. Do you want the Emirates to expand? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. There are genuinely some Arsenal fans that say, no, I don't want it to. I'm happy where I am. I don't need to move to Wembley to see a few more thousand people at the ground. I'm happy with how things are. I, for one, believe at the bare minimum we should be upgrading and refurbishing the Emirates in terms of its equipment and what it's got already. The facilities there are great, but it could be better. I love the box level, the club level situation, the food and drinks, all great. But we need to be looking at better options for food and drinks, better ways to get the food and drink. Definitely refurb around the stadium. The seats need upgrading and definitely brightened done up and freshened up. The plaques and the seat numbers definitely need looking at and refurbishing and upgrading too. That's my humble opinion as someone who goes as a season ticket holder every week. But what I'd love to get is your thoughts and understandings as well. This looks like it's going to happen, people. And within the next couple of years, I expect to see plans underway. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Make sure you hit like on this one. Make sure you hit subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.